All right, time now for our deep dive. And later this year, dozens of affordable brand new homes will be built in 1 week as part of the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project. I sat down with the Habitat for Humanity International CEO, Jonathan Reckford, to find out why they chose to do this gigantic event right here in Central Texas and what this build can mean for you. Take a listen.
The reason we picked Austin is it's a perfect example of what's happening across the country, where housing prices have accelerated so much faster than incomes. So it's really exacerbating our affordable housing crisis. And Austin is such a dynamic and vibrant community, and it's an example of a historically affordable community that's no longer affordable.
For people that don't know much about the work project, though, this is like the Olympics kind of. This is huge.
It is. So this is Habitat for Humanity's signature event, and most people think President Carter started Habitat and ran it. That's actually not true. Habitat was started in 1976, but the world found out about Habitat in 1984 when President and Mrs. Carter first got involved locally in Georgia, and then famously rode a bus up from South Georgia to New York City, spent a week sleeping in a church basement and rehabbing a tenement building on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And no one had ever seen a former president of the United States behaving that way, and that really put Habitat on the map and started this extraordinary 35-year run where every year the Carters would go somewhere in the world to bring attention to the need for safe, decent, affordable housing. And obviously bittersweet this year, tragically, we will not have the Carters, of course, but we really believe the best way to honor and continue their legacy is to keep the work going.
Now, you worked alongside of him. I watched some of your interviews with him, and he was a guy you don't think is a politician because he wanted to have the hammer in his hand, not the camera. You know, it was so different, and I love that. Explain it to the people at home what it was like working alongside him for so long.
Well, it's certainly one of the great privileges of my life to get to spend a week with him for much of 16 years, and before COVID was the only thing that finally stopped him from building. But for President Carter had a legendary work ethic, and for him it was all about the families and all about getting the work done. And so, you know, we have celebrities or politicians who want to come out, get the photo op, and be gone. President Carter couldn't have been more different. In fact, he would always say on the first day he would give a devotion, and then he would say at the end, now let's be clear, we're here to work. And so if you come up and ask for a picture, you're not working, I'm not working, and the person holding the camera is not working. So at the end of the week, we'll do pictures, but this is about creating those homes for the families that are going to buy them. And I think he loved building. He was a skilled carpenter. But what he would say over and over again is that Habitat for Humanity was the best way he knew to put his faith into action in a very tangible way. And that he always felt, and I think that's the not so secret, beautiful part of volunteering, he always felt like he got more out of getting to volunteer than anything that he was able to give.
I've been doing Habitat for more than a decade. I'm nowhere near as long as you, but every person I've ever talked to who I worked through the day with says the same thing. We got so much more. And when you see the families, I mean, talk about that at the end when these people just, I have chills right now just thinking about what it's like to see all the families.
Well, that's when it really becomes real. And I think it's the, you know, the personal connection and the feeling of community out on the build site. And the Carter build is like every other Habitat build, just bigger. And so it's kind of a regular Habitat build, but on steroids. And a friend of mine called it the music of 1,000 hammers. There's something when you have 1,000 volunteers out together building every day that is just creates an energy level. But it still comes back to the same, that group of families that are going to have the opportunity to purchase their home. They're going to have the chance to build an intergenerational asset. They can create financial stability and create a stable environment for their children to grow and thrive. It's all the same things we all want for our families. And I think, you know, President Carter would say at the end of the week he would sign a Bible and go and greet each individual family, and he would always end up in tears, and they'd end up in tears, and I think, you know, that's when it becomes real for everybody.
It's generational change too. I mean, this is building wealth generationally, and that's so important when you're getting a family who hasn't had anything, and you can finally give them something to hand down too.
Well, it's so important, and when you look at the way in this country particularly people have gotten into the middle class, for most, the opportunity to create that long-term savings through home ownership is the way that people have been able to build that intergenerational asset. That then creates the opportunity to help your children with down payments or be able to help them go to college without a lot of debt. And it really is that springboard up. And so the urgency we're feeling now is that opportunity is just so far away for such a large swath of our population. And we need more of every kind of housing. So we are pro all forms of housing, but our particular niche is affordable home ownership, because that does create a benefit not just for the family but for the community. We find communities with a higher ratio of home ownership perform better on almost every possible statistic.
Because you care when you own it, when you have a hand in it, literally, you care more. There are a lot of people that I talk to about Habitat that don't understand that these people aren't getting a home. They still have to buy it. They still have to, they still have to take care of it. Explain that to the people who don't understand.
Yeah, thank you for raising that, because the other great myth, other than President Carter starting it, is that we give away the homes. And I think when people understand how it works, and these are our families who are already working incredibly hard to take care of their families, and on top of that then, the core criteria to partner with Habitat is that first you have to be at an income level where you wouldn't be able to get a traditional bank mortgage, but second, you actually have to clean up your credit, take classes in home management, and then literally help build your home and your neighbors' homes. And in that process, these families are both financially prepared, but also they really know how to take care of these houses. And that's why, even though technically we are a subprime lender, and I'm sorry, I left out a very important part, they pay back an affordable mortgage, but on terms that they can afford on a reasonable percent of their income. And that's why, even though we are a subprime lender, our foreclosure rates are actually way below that of the market, because these families are incredibly well prepared and they have put so much into those homes.
And you guys take care of all the training, right? I mean, you walked them through this, right? The financial training?
We do, and we think it's really important. I found over my life that people across all incomes don't necessarily have great financial training, but there is, I think, and I've talked to so many families where the discipline of cleaning up their credit, getting prepared for home ownership, created practices and that bode them, help them in sort of all aspects of their life, in addition to the ability to build equity through their home.
So let's talk about the work project, because you said 1,000 hammers. How many people are really on this job site, to wrap your mind around how big it is?
So we'll be building 25 homes at Whisper Valley as part of a much bigger, this is going to be a huge mixed income project, and ultimately 250 Habitat homes. So it'll be the beginning of that. So on any given day, I should know that answer, but I think we'll have close to 1,000 people coming out, because you'll have roughly 30 people working on each home. Then you've got all the volunteers who help make the whole project work, that are feeding people, caring for people, keeping them safe. We have volunteers who've come for years and years who are doctors, and they volunteer their time to come on site. Now, we hope they're really bored.
Not needed. Not needed.
But it's amazing that they come out as well. So it's quite a machine to make it all happen. But what you'll see when you experiencing our 25 homes that are getting specifically built that week.
We hope they're not needed, but thank you for the doctors who do come out, because I've needed a few. You've probably seen me with some bandages all over my hands coming back from the site. You work with your hands, you're going to get injured, but such a cool thing. And I sat down with the Austin Habitat CEO, Michelle Anderson, to get her reaction to this massive news. And again, this is the Olympics of home building, international event, right? Not just in the U.S. About her reaction, number one, and about your chance to own a Habitat home. Take a listen.
Complete excitement. So we have never hosted the Carter Work Project, and we're a smaller Habitat, but we're mighty. So last week we just had a press release that said you can pre-apply for the homes that we'll be building in Carter Work Project. Our goal is to have all of the families identified by the time we start the Carter Work Project, so they can be involved in the building of their home and the excitement of being part of the Carter Work Project. The biggest challenge that we've tried to overcome is we're providing workforce housing. So people that are working hard every day, doing everything right, but are placed out of the Austin market. So people, for a family of four, $63,000 to $97,000.
$97,000 is a lot.
Right, qualifies you for a Habitat home in the greater Austin area. Many of our homes appraise at $450,000.
Wow.
We even had several that appraised for over $600,000. But we sell these homes for under $250,000.
Under $250,000. So again, you can make up to $97,000 as a family of four. These are fantastic houses, very well built, I should say. So if you can go to the website, please do. It'll take you a second to see whether you can qualify, and you'll be surprised. And they are still looking for people literally looking for people who want to move into one of these incredible homes that have not yet been built. Brand new home, you and your family, generational change. What are you waiting for? Even if your credit isn't great, they're going to help you walk through it. If you've got, a job and you've got a passion, please do this. This will change your world. Love, love, love to be a part of this. And thank you to Austin Habitat as well for all that they have done and for their time. We appreciate that.